What is up, guys? Welcome back to MMA Latest. I'm here, joined with Reese and Jay, and we're going to be looking at UFC Fight Night, of course. We're back at the UFC Apex, Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo. It is a fantastic fight, and it is a fantastic couple of fights on the card. There's a couple of names here that we're going to be looking at, of course. But guys, we're going to look at the flyweight division. Jessica Eye, she had that fight against Valentina Shevchenko. It didn't go her way. What does the flyweight division need, really, Reese?
She obviously bounced back after a really, really poor defeat against Valentina. And as we've mentioned before, the 125 division is very unlucky that they've got a fighter as dominant as Valentina, as the bantamweights have got Amanda Nunes. We've obviously got Valentina versus Jojo Calderwood that was meant to be happening at some point this year. So I think that a real contender really needs to emerge. And Cynthia moving up, if she gets a win over Jessica Eye, then I think it definitely puts her straight into title contention.
Yeah, definitely. I think Katlyn Chookagian came back with a fantastic win against Antonina Shevchenko. She almost avenged the loss to Valentina pretty nicely. She dominated that fight. Jessica Eye is number one in the rankings. But yeah, Jay, what do you think of Cynthia Calvillo? Could you come in and really shake up the division?
I don't know. I think it's one of those we'll just have to see on the night. The thing with Calvillo, if you remember before her absence, Dana White was pretty high on her. Like, he praised her to the moon. So, I mean, she has been impressive, but I think this would be the perfect fight for her to come in against Jessica Eye. Now, Jessica Eye is she's in the most consistent run. I know she's 1-1 in the last two, but it's the most consistent she's been in the UFC now. I mean, she went on a 4-fight losing streak and then bounced back to win 4 of her last 5. Like you said, the only lost to Shevchenko. So I think getting a win over Jessica Eye would kind of throw her into top 5 and even title contention. Yeah, so it's a big night for her, and I would not be surprised to see her come out with her arm race.
No, definitely. I think we was meant to see, obviously, Joanne Calderwood fight for the title against Valentina Shevchenko. It was, again, the women's champions are so dominant. You've got Zhang Weili in the strawweight division. You've got Shevchenko in the flyweight. And, of course, you've got Nunes at both bantamweight and featherweight. It is absolutely incredible. The strawweight division stacked. The flyweight and bantamweight both need either something to change or some sort of injection from the talent that is there. But we've heard Joe Rogan say before, the champion always makes the rest of the division rise up to them. So we will see, hopefully something, Jessica Eye, if she wins, she probably won't get a title shot immediately, because I think Joanne Calderwood does deserve that. And whether we see that again, obviously, Shevchenko had that leg injury. I think we was meant to see it in was it next month or August we was meant to see the fight, Reese?
Yeah, I think it was August. And the problem is that Valentina is just levels above every woman in that division. So, we're all talking about Amanda and Valentina maybe having a trilogy fight. And I think I think we all know kind of what's going to happen between Valentina and Jojo, I think we do need to respect Jojo has improved massively since changing camps as well. Obviously, she's definitely been on a rise, and she's going to prove a tough test for Valentina, but I think it's a test that we all gather she's going to come through relatively easy.
Yeah, I think if we do see Valentina come through that, I hope that fight happens probably in September. I don't know what the status of Valentina Shevchenko's leg injury is at the moment. But I think that is the fight to make. You'll probably see it it'll probably be on Fight Island. Although, Fight Island's in July. But I think 253 will be in Abu Dhabi anyway. So it'll be in the same location pretty much. But yeah, it says a lot when you're looking at, for Valentina Shevchenko, you're looking at either Zhang Weili to come up or for Shevchenko, the champion, to go up to fight Amanda Nunes for a third time. But, we have got a fantastic fight in the co-main event. We've got Cole Robertson versus Marvin Vettori. This fight was meant to take place back at UFC 249, but unfortunately Robertson did miss weight and was then pulled from the card with an injury. For Vettori, it's the third fight he had cancelled. Jay, what do you make for Marvin Vettori? And hopefully he has a fight this weekend. How will it go for him?
Yeah, I would expect Vettori to, in my mind, I expected him to be the stronger going into this. But Kyle Robinson is not really something to overlook, but Vettori's clearly the more experienced fighter. They were supposed to fight back in May, so I don't know. I'm just looking forward to seeing them get at it. A lot of these fights haven't they've been cancelled over the past couple of months, and so now time's come back around to reschedule them, get them going again. So you can imagine for them as well, like having to wait so long to get a fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go down as probably the fight of the night.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add that I think we saw it with Tony Ferguson, obviously having to peak at different times, and Marvin having the 3 fights now and being cancelled so many times, he's had to make weight as well, like 2 of those times. So where is I'm interested to see where his body's going to be at, where his conditioning, and against someone like Carl who's on the way up, and he's fought someone like Gilbert Burns as well. Carl has, so he's definitely been in there with the best. So I don't think that's going to phase him, but obviously tempers boiled over when Carl pulled out on weigh-in day last time out. So I'm just hoping that we don't get too emotive in the fight, and both fighters are able to put on a good performance. And as we said, I think it's maybe going to take fight of the night.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main talking point is Martin Vettori, as we said. He was meant to fight at UFC London in March against Darren Stewart. That fight obviously didn't happen. He was meant to fight Robertson in April, and then again in May. So 3 months in a row, he's had a fight cancelled, and we're now in June. He's, as you said, he's been training all that time. He's had to remake and reschedule camps. The last fight didn't go his way. Well, the last fight got cancelled because of a weighing issue. It'd be interesting to see what happens on Friday if one of them misses weight and what happens then. Because these two, especially after that fight, they did have a bit of a handbag throw, and rightfully so for Vettori. He prepared so much for those fights. There's a little bit of a rivalry here, and it depends on who comes out on top this weekend. Jay, do you have anyone, or do you think Vettori will be too strong? He's done pretty well after his 2 wins after the loss to the champion Israel Adesanya, of course.
Yeah, he has been pretty impressive. I think losing to Adesanya is not really much to take to go against you, really. You've seen how good he is. I will be interested in this. Obviously, like you said, there's been plenty of bad blood between these two. But I expect Vettori to just be better everywhere, to be perfectly honest, stronger on the night. But like you said, like Rhys said, about these camps and the weigh-ins and this and that, it takes a toll on your body. So it all just depends on how much he's kind of rehydrated himself, kind of looked after himself, really. It's not so much about putting in the reps in the gym at this point. It's all about just staying ready, staying loose and stuff like that. So I'm assuming he done that correct, and if so, you should have a pretty smooth performance.
Have we made predictions for the main event? What's your prediction for the weekend, Rhys?
In terms of the main event?
Yes.
In terms of the main event, I think that Jessica is going to be just too big. I always kind of thought that Cynthia was a little bit undersized at 115, but obviously with there being no divisions, didn't have a choice. But as Jay said, Jessica, out of that top 5, apart from Valentina, she is the most consistent. She is putting on, good performances every now and again, obviously apart from the loss to the champion. But I think it's probably going to go for 25 minutes. So both women are going to have to put on the best games that they can. And but I do think it's going to be Jessica who's going to grind it out, probably unanimous decision. Split decision at best if she's not having a good performance.
Very well, very well. Jay, do you think we're going to see any Fight of the Year candidates this weekend?
No, just to be blunt. But no, it's an interesting card, to be fair. It's not the most star-studded card, but these are the type of cards that will surprise you. Every fight could be a barn burner, or it could be like a snooze fest. You don't know. We'll have to wait and see on Saturday. But for the main event, I'm gonna switch roles with Rhys here, and I'm gonna predict Calvillo gets the sub in the 3rd round.
That wouldn't be bad at all. That would be nice just to see something a little bit more fresh in the division. Just someone to shake it up, perhaps. I'm gonna go with Jessica.
Yeah, I think it's needed. We talked about it with Amanda Nunes the other day, how essentially her stepping away will give a bit of time and space for these other contenders to build themselves back up. And sometimes it's the nature of how dominant the champion is. Demetrius Johnson's done it. John Jones has done it. GSP has done it. They've all kind of cleaned out their divisions and have essentially had nothing left. So, they need to build themselves back up. And Cynthia Calvillo coming in and getting a win would only add to the division, obviously. There's Joanne Calderwood ready to step in to fight for the title after this. Well, the next one in for Shevchenko. And then if Calvillo wins, she's probably one fight away from fighting for the title herself.
Yeah, definitely. That flyweight division, I think it has to look down a little bit. I think the likes of maybe Tatiana Suarez, I know she's injured at the moment. She's 115. She could quite easily go up to 125. The only Jacek didn't look bad, albeit up against a very strong Valentina Shevchenko. And again, the champion, Zhang Weili, I think she's going to set sights on Valentina very soon. I think she's probably got a rematch in Jacek. But I can see those two fighting up pretty nicely. But, you know, we've seen what happened with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey went through a period of looking invincible. And then we got the Holly Holm there. So we just need to find the Holly Holm of the flyweight division, really.
I do think that for the time being, obviously, the women's side of the game has always kind of been looked down upon because obviously they were late bloomers to the sport. But I think at the moment, especially with Amanda, especially with Valentina, and I do think Weili Zhang has got it in her as well, I think we're going to see 3 very dominant champions for quite a long time. I think you go through a cycle as a fighter of having your time, and I think Joanna has had her time. Don't get me wrong, she's still definitely elite, and she put on a great fight against Weili, and some even thought she'd won it. But I do think that we're going to see 3 dominant champions, especially with Amanda and Valentina. They're going to kind of be champions for as long as they want until they walk away, because I don't see anyone in either division really challenging either, which is why a lot of people, including me, want to see that trilogy fight between the pair of them. Because I think, you know, both have improved a hell of a lot over the years since they fought each other for the second time. And Valentina having the defences that she's had, and Amanda having the high-profile defences she's had, including Cyborg and Holly Holm as well. I think that sets up for a real good fight. And I think the winner of that fight, although obviously Amanda's at the top of the women's game right now, if Valentina was to win that, it would put her right back up there. And I think it would be quite a big upset as well if Valentina won. And I think that says a lot about Amanda's ability as well.
Yeah, like the last fight was completely close. Like it was, like you said, could have went either way. But I think like Nunes is just on a different level right now, and so is Valentina. So they both need to kind of just, although Nunes reigns over 2 divisions, they both need to kind of maintain like their status in said division, let's say, and have Shevchenko go like try and match what Nunes is doing in bantamweight and featherweight. Why not? And then Weili Zhang will do the same. And then there's your next crossover. Like I think that makes more sense than doing the trilogy with Nunes. Nunes is 2 up. Normally there shouldn't be a right for the trilogy, but we all know how good Shevchenko is. That should make it competitive. So, but I just think the right thing for her would be to dominate her division, take on any and all comers, and then when Weili Zhang steps up, that'll be a mega fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we need to just just to quickly. We've also got obviously a fight between Lauren Murphy and Roxanne Modafferi as well, which is coming up next month. That is a big fight as well, because I think you look at the likes of Dukagian, and obviously she's in a difficult position because she just fought for the title and then she'd come back and look brilliant against Shevchenko, but Shevchenko was down at number 12, I think she was. So I think a win for either Modafferi or Murphy sets up a potential fight against the likes of Dukagian, or even the winner or loser of the main event this weekend. So there's, even though that the fighters are a little bit of a level below Valentina, it's still a fantastic division. There's still some really good fighters in there. But as we said, there's got to be a real contender to emerge, and we might see that this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you still got the likes of Macy Barber, who's going to come back from a ratio injury. She was highly touted to be a future title and contender, and I think she will be. You've got obviously Molly McCann from the UK, and you've got Alexa Grasso, who's moved over to the flyweight division as well. So it is a stacked division. It's just unfortunate that the champion's so dominant and a couple levels higher than the rest of the competition. But, you know, we've moved on from that. We did finally find out where UFC Fight Island is. It is at Yas Island. And we've got an absolutely stacked card, UFC 251. Got 3 titles on the line. We've also got Andrade versus Namajunas 2. That could be a good indication to where the strawweight title could end up, at the end of 2020. And of course, we have Paige VanZant versus Amanda Ribas. Again, another flyweight bout. So maybe Amanda Ribas could potentially pull off something there and put her name into the mix. Reece, what did you make of Fight Island being announced?
We were all, like the whole MMA community, we were all so excited for this. We all had visions of an octagon on a beach on a private island where surrounded by sea. And I think more than any. I think I'm a little bit underwhelmed because as a company, we've been there before with back in 2010, I think it was, and also we had obviously Poirier versus Khabib as well. So it's not the private island blue seas that was sold to us, but it's still an exciting time to have this sort of precedent that we've got at the minute, and I think we need to make most of it. But in terms of that card, 3 title fights, you can't go wrong. The 3 title fights card have always put on a hell of a lot of good performances. So I'm really, really excited, and it's going to be a fantastic night of action on the beach.
Yeah, so I think, like, in my head, I had this idea of Fight Island as in, right, like ring girls, hula girls, right? Palm trees, sand, sea, sun, forest, jungle, whatever. I thought it was going to be all this stuff, but then it was just Abu Dhabi. So, like, we've had them cards before. I guess there's a little bit more to it because it'll be on the beach and stuff. It will be an interesting appeal, but as lackluster as the announcement was for the location, I think I was more than happy to see the card. Like, that card is unbelievable. Like, it's just stacked. Volkanovski, Holloway, no?
Yeah.
Yep.
You said Paige Van Zandt, Rivas. Why is my brain gone blank?
You got Andrade versus Namajunas, which could probably, both of them former champions.
3 title fights, right?
Yeah, Petyan, Aldo, and Usman versus Gilbert Burns, who's had probably the best 20 year of his life.
I literally just had a brain fart, so we're good.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but like I think it's like Gilbert Burns and Usman, like Jesus Christ, like who doesn't want to see that fight? Everybody wants to see that fight except for Nate Diaz.
Yeah, it's such a quick turnaround as well for Burns as well. So it's going to be interesting to see whether, the fresh fighter, so to say, and the guy who's got the momentum. Whereas Kamaru, at the moment, fights once a year because obviously he's got a lot of recurring injuries. I've listened to a lot of his stuff on the Joe Rogan podcast when he was on that before, and he's saying that he always comes out of a fight. He's always got like little niggles here and there.
Knee problems and stuff like that, doesn't he? He doesn't run.
Yeah, he doesn't run because of his knee and stuff like that. So Burns coming in the way he is, and with them being teammates as well. And, Burns has come out and said that they've always had good battles in training. So I think we could, although I do always worry that Kamaru is oversized for that division, he outpowers everybody, but I think it's going to be a great fight. I think that's a more than well-worthy headliner for Fight Island.
Yeah, I think like that it really could go either way. There's it's probably a 60-40 or 55-45, whatever way you want to take it, either way. And I like the fact that it's been respectful as well between the two of them, because obviously they've trained together and stuff like that. It's been respectful. Normally, I remember, first thing that comes to mind is John Jones, Rashad Evans thing. And when John got the shot, Rashad had to step out. It created this tension between them, and then we've seen how that turned out. Sometimes it can be like that, especially with Colby at ATT. He's called out all his teammates.
Yeah.
So this is actually a rather interesting one. I like that there's a good approach to it, and I believe the two of them are going to go in there and try and tear it up. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a new champion at 170.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal, especially for Gilbert Burns. He came to this year, he gave Damian Maia his first finish in 9 years. He then took Leon Edwards' fight. Unfortunately for Leon Edwards, he must be sat in Birmingham, looking at Gilbert Burns in awe at the moment because he took his fight against Woodley, dominated Woodley for 5 rounds, and has now got a title shot off the back of it, and deservedly so. And I think the fact that they have been teammates or are teammates does make this fight a little bit more interesting. You just say there with Colby Compton, he's now been pushed out of the ATT because of his antics inside the gym, so there can be tensions. But these two, you saw Usman come out and defend him almost as being deserved number 1 contender when Masvidal and Nate Diaz were both saying that this was almost a fake fight and that he wasn't the true number 1 contender.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Nate Diaz, listen, I love watching Nate Diaz fight, but he just, I don't know if it's bitterness or something like that. I can't for the life of me think about it. But what appears to me now is that Diaz is solely focused on money. He doesn't really care about the belt, due to what he said about this fight happening. Sometimes you just have to brush money aside and it all comes out that who wants to be the best. I understand people wanting to a level of financial security, of course. I think everybody in the world would like that. But sometimes when it comes down to just who's going to be the best, Gilbert Burns isn't going to make these $1 million paydays but he could easily probably walk in and just take that title and show he's the best at 170.
Yeah, I think Nate needs to have a consistent run of fights, because that's always been his problem. He's always been out of the cage. He's never been one to openly speak about his relationship with the UFC. So, you know, he come off that fight against Masvidal where he got dominated, and if anything was saved by the doctor. And yeah, I'm not a fan of him calling out the fighters, because at least these fighters are fighting, you know. So I don't think you can sit there and criticize people for actually doing a job when you're not doing your job. You're not even offering yourself forward for fights.
Exactly, like he's wealthy now after having 2 main event slots against McGregor and then Masvidal.
Yeah,
you know, he's sitting pretty. He is, so it's easy to kind of just throw your opinion around there. Whereas, like you said, these people are out there fighting. If Nate Diaz, he always seems to have this gripe against the UFC that they never want to see him win, or they're trying to push him out and stuff like that. I don't, like, personally, I don't buy it. You know, I think if you just had if you fought consistently, who knows where you'd be right now. But like you said, that's his problem. He very seldom fights.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gilbert Burns got another win over him on social media this week, especially. You know, I think once Gilbert Burns steps inside the cage, he's fought the same times as Nate Diaz has done in 3 years, almost, maybe pushing 4 at this point. You know, so it does say a lot about Gilbert Burns. He's been active, and I think if he wins, he definitely probably nailed on as fighter of the year. But we're back to having 4 fight cards in 2 weeks on Fight Island. It's going to be one hectic schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for Cormier and Stipe.
Yeah, the trilogy's now signed.
Would that be in the Apex, will it not?
Possibly. It's in August, so I don't know if Fight Island will be done dusted, but I imagine it's probably in Vegas.
Yeah,
that's going to be really intriguing to see that sort of fight in such a close, confined space like the Apex.
Do you reckon that helps DC as a wrestler?
But that's what I mean. Like, it's the short cage, isn't it? It's a smaller cage. Like, I don't know. That's
small,
interesting.
It's smaller by 5 foot, so you do have to take that into account. Like, normally, if you take someone down, you've got to shuffle them back a little bit towards the cage, but you don't have to do that as much. I'm also, I doubt this would be the case, but DC's been inside the Apex now for a few weeks, commentating and on those duties. So although he's not been inside the octagon, he knows the atmosphere. He knows the routine, and I wonder if that would have any impact on the fight at all.
Very possibly. You know, he has been in there a couple of times. He's done very well on the mic. It's going to be interesting to see him back in the cage for the final time in front of 0 fans. If he wins that heavyweight title for a second time and just walks off into the sunset with no one in the audience, it's a bit sad, but you know, that's a great way to go out for him as a heavyweight champion.
Yeah, like he'd
go down as one of the best, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. Like, he touched on it recently, maybe as far as a month ago. He said he was willing to, you know, have his final fight in front of nobody. You know, so the fact that he's accepted that already shows that he is on his way out. This is his final fight. And listen, with the way this year has gone, I don't think people should hang around just for that moment. It would be nice, but DC's had his heart set on retiring maybe a year ago, wasn't it?
Maybe 2 years. Because after he beat Miocic, he was looking at Lesnar and out, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was going to fight Lesnar.
Yeah. So there you go. Like, retirement's been in his mind this whole time. I couldn't imagine him sticking around to have that final goodbye in front of the crowd. He'll get his moment, he will, and he might just get his moment leaving with a title.
Yeah, and to flip that on its head, could you imagine? So obviously he's on the microphone now. If he wins that belt and commentates on that first card with fans and walks out with his heavyweight title wrapped around his waist.
Yeah, he's definitely had a twilight of his career. Obviously, he's had those 2 losses against John Jones, and I think John Jones one of those opponents for DC where unfortunately he's just never going to beat him on his day, maybe. But it's John Jones, and I think the mental warfare comes into that between the pair of them as well. Is that John Jones maybe gets into DC's head? But as we said, and I watched an interview that DC had with Ariel Helwani this week as well, and he was saying that he is more than happy with the life outside the cage. As you know, he's been doing his telestrator stuff on the broadcast and stuff like that. So he is set for once he retires, and he's been looked after by Dana. And I'm sure, as we've all mentioned before, that DC is going to be gunning for that president job once Dana decides to give it up.
Yeah, like I think he's a model candidate for the UFC president's job. Now I think that would be further down the line.
Yeah.
But like I tend to agree with what you're saying, Reece. Like I do think with Cormier, if he fought Jones, I know Jones seems to have his number pretty much at light heavyweight, but I do feel like there will be an extra advantage for him at heavyweight if he fought Jones. Again, touching on what I kind of said previous, I still don't think it's enough to keep him around. I think his business is done. Once this fight ends, his career is done. Like, and not physically, I don't think he's deteriorating at all. He's elite level, you know. But sometimes it's best to let people go out on top. I think that's the one retirement that I would believe happen in MMA. Like I said about Cejudo and stuff, I don't believe these people are fully retired. I think that would be the one. I think it's pretty obvious that's the one that when he retires, that's it. You know, I'd be happy for him.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm pretty sure he said again on the Hawaii show that he's been doing, which is fantastic. He said he wasn't embarrassed to lose to John Jones, but he said he was embarrassed almost to lose against Stipe in that rematch. So you can almost see that there is a skill differential between him and John Jones, but he definitely wants to get that one against Stipe back. He almost feels embarrassed that he let it go in the first place.
Yeah, like he knew going in against Jones how good Jones was, which I'm also sure he knew how good Stipe was as well, but Stipe is not on John Jones's level by any stretch of the imagination. So, and you seen what happened in the first fight, and in the second fight he was completely in control, and then he got lazy, and you know, it's almost like he didn't respect Stipe by the latter stage of the fight, and then he got his lights shut out. I think that would be completely different this time around. I think, in my own personal opinion, I think DC is the better fighter, and I think he'll win. I think he will win that night.
Yeah, I think DC is streets ahead of anyone in that heavyweight division as well. And yeah, I mean, as you said, he got complacent in that second fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, Stipe changed up his game plan really well, and those body shots were beautiful, and it set up that finish. But if, as you said, DC was cruising, he was 2 rounds up, and Stipe really turned it on. And although for the overall landscape of the heavyweight division, if DC was to win, it doesn't leave it in the greatest stead. But I think as an own person's career, I don't think you can really discourage what DC's done, not only for the sport but the UFC as well. He's helped grow that brand.
Yeah, I agree, and he's going to carry on. He's probably him and Bisping seem to be a very noble UFC ambassador at the moment. They're both doing fantastic work on the mic. You can easily put them in like talk shows. You can put them on panel shows and meet and greets and whatnot. They have a huge fan base and they're doing wonders for the sport. It's nice to see we're at a point now with MMA where we're bringing almost their own sort of, we've seen football, ex-footballers being pundits. It's nice now that we're getting the same thing with fighters. And they deserved it. Yeah,
like it's good. Like I think with people like Bisping and DC and stuff, like they've put in so much in the case that they've set themselves up for a career outside of fighting. And it's good to see. Like I know what happened with Chuck Liddell and Rich Franklin and stuff like that. They all got jobs in Forrest Griffin, but obviously not. Like the majority of them didn't last very long. I think DC and Bisping, they have a career in commentary, and like you said, panelists and stuff like that for talk shows, fight shows, Ultimate Fighter, or whatever it needs to be. They're good enough to do it. So yeah, it's good to see.
Definitely, I think that's almost a great place to wrap it up. But we just get one last comment on UFC Fight Island. It is exciting. Dana White said, he made a promise to us saying that he'd make it happen, he'd build the infrastructure there, and again, he did it. And it's just going to be, once July 11th comes and we've got that first title fight between Petr Yan and Jose Aldo, stepping into the cage, an empty cage, it's going to be 30, 40 degree heat. It's going to be interesting to see how fights play out, sort of humidity as well. But yeah, just let's get your final comments on Fight Island and UFC 251 as a whole, Reece.
In terms of Fight Island, obviously, I think I saw online that the main card are going to be starting at 6 a.m. local time. So not only is it going to be very hot, it's also going to be very early. So we've got to acclimatise to that. I know that there's like private facilities and stuff like that around Yas Island. So there's definitely, it kind of sounds like they're effectively moving the PI across to like Abu Dhabi and having that central hub there for all the fighters to come in. But as a fight fan, despite what's going on in the world at the minute, this is such an exciting time because, you know, if you would have rewinded a month and said that, if you fast forward, we're going to have fights every single week. We had 3 events in 1 week, and it's not like we're putting on average fight cards. Like we're putting on pay-per-view blockbusters like we had this past weekend as well. So I think as a fight fan, I don't think there's any better time. We're getting a consistent run of fights, and everything's getting back to normal. And that UFC 250 card, 251, sorry, is going to be an incredible card. And 3 title fights, you can't go wrong with it at all.
Yeah, definitely. I think if we come up to August 13th, obviously there's fights to be announced. We're going to see pretty much every division other than the lightweight and middleweight division for the men's and the females, bantamweight and strawweight. Every title is going to be defended up until August, which is phenomenal considering there's no crowds. We've continued pretty much as normal. We had that little bit of the month break, as was probably needed. But again, we're going to have some fantastic bouts coming up. And I think it's smart from the UFC for them to stack their pay-per-view cards with things at the moment. You can get, their revenue at the moment is coming in through pay-per-views, despite the ESPN Plus subscriptions. $60 pay-per-view. If you can get 700 to 1,000 to 1 million buys, that helps the company out a lot more than probably the ESPN Plus does for a fight night. But I think we're going to see some. This weekend's card isn't the greatest, but I think we're going to see a couple more like this that, they're fine prelim fights on any given night. But I think we're going to see some free-to-air fights that will get new fans in. But really, these pay-per-views are mouth-watering, really.
Yeah, UFC 251. Like I said, I was a bit underwhelmed about the location and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're in a pandemic and we're getting fights. I'm happy to just be watching anyways. But they've really, like you said, stacking the main card of the pay-per-views. These are smart businessmen. They know what they're doing. So during a time like this, to stack these cards, and then you get Usman, Burns, Petr Yan, and Aldo. Come on, these are sick fights, and I can't wait. They really, they're out there on themselves now. I just wish that there was a couple more fights to make during this. I'd like to see some of the bigger names back as well.
A certain Irishman.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's where Fight Island. Obviously, that was what it was mainly designed for. Was for the Europeans or the sort of guys that can't travel. So that's what we're seeing. I want to touch quickly on Darren Till's obviously fighting Robert Whittaker as well. That seems to be going under
radar. That's actually who he meant. That's I didn't even mean about Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah. But it's gonna that is such an important fight for that division because you've got Israel Adesanya, who's probably going to end up fighting Paulo Costa at some point towards the end of the year, and then obviously the winner of Till versus Whittaker probably fights again for the title. And obviously that would be such a good rise for Darren after 2 really, really tough defeats down at 170. But in terms of the European fighters, there's a lot of fighters now that are being announced for these Fight Island cards. And obviously we talked about Leon Edwards before, and he was offered that title fight with Kamaru Usman, but travel couldn't get it done. So I think out of all this, I think Leon Edwards is definitely the guy who's lost the most because he would have been in exactly the same situation that Gilbert Burns is in now if he'd gone out and beat Tyron Woodley. So, but all these European fighters and fighters that are having these travel issues, this is now their time to shine, and on a platform like Fight Island, which we've never had before.
Yeah, to be fair, you could have had this week's card. You could have had that on Fight Island as the very first card, and people are still going to tune in just because of the spectacle alone and what it's going to look like, what it's going to be, how it's going to be, the production gone into it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Fight Island it's a genius decision. They over-marketed it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm happy with it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for me, I think this could be a long-term business plan for them, especially if they've already got the deal in place with Abu Dhabi. And if it's in September-ish, you've got Formula One who's over there, I think later on in the year, probably October. If they can line up with timeline, that's fantastic for tourism. It's fantastic for the European fighters as well. And, you could very much see them building a PI over there.
Yeah, like I think if they really start going to town with some pay-per-views over there, it'd be so much easier in terms of, like you said, the international fighters. You know, if you had a Darren Till, a Conor McGregor and stuff like that flying over, you know, it'd be so much easier to locate people and then create these huge events. You know, so great idea.
I think that's the thing with the Abu Dhabi cards is that I do feel that you do have to stack it. You know, we go back to the Dustin Poirier versus Khabib fight, and then we had Paul Felder versus Edson Barbosa, and we had I think like 2 or 3 more that was very, very decent fights. But I do feel that you've got to stack that card like with 3 title fights, and maybe this pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi is the catalyst maybe to start getting more pay-per-views out there, because as Jay said, like the spectacle of it being on Yas Island, you can definitely use that as a marketing ploy to bring in a hell of a lot more fans. And I think this first pay-per-view is just going to draw massive numbers, despite the fact that we've been we've definitely been oversold it. But yeah, I think it's going to bring massive numbers, and it can only do good for the sport as well.
Definitely, and that, you know, it is exciting. You either do that or you make it a festival where we have a different UFC Fight Island each year. We go round the different islands. I had one in Ibiza one year, New Zealand the next year. But yeah, we just have a travelling circus, shall we? No, I think that's a good place to leave it on that one. It's been great talking to you guys again. We'll be back for the review. We'll be back for the review after this week's events. And again, we'll be looking at Curtis Blades versus Alex Volkov next weekend. So another heavyweight clash to be looking forward to. But yes, make sure to keep it locked to MMA Latest. Make sure to give these two a follow as well. Their Twitter is jthorough_1, is it?
Yeah, well, it's 2 hours. Yeah,
2 hours.
Give me 1 hour.
1 hour. Sorry, yes, we'll get that right. And Reese, where can they find you?
It's at Reese Man UFC. So yeah, I think we're all stepping up our games. We're all going to be bringing out a lot of content over the next few weeks, and just with Fight Island as well. So
yeah, definitely. A lot of fighters involved as well in the coming weeks. So
yes, definitely. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Of course, follow the social medias, MMA Latest News on Instagram and Twitter, and we will see you guys in the next video.